I started last week's preview with some bad news for All Black fans, and that was that we'd only won once in 6 attempts when playing the Wallabies in Australia in a World Cup year, of course, excluding 1987 and 1995, because those games were played, the Bledisloe Cup games were played after the World Cup. Well, history repeated itself again, and the All Blacks are now searching for some answers if they want to retain the Bledisloe Cup for another year. The only thing I got right last week was that when we score 26 points or less, we generally lose. Now, the big talking point, of course, was the red card, handed out by the All Blacks' current favourite referee, Jerome Garces, who also sent off Sonny Bill Williams 2 years ago against the British and Irish Lions. You can now relax, Wayne Barnes. There's a new enemy in town. Okay, what I will say is that it's difficult to effectively tackle someone when they're at waist height and when their head and body are going down. However, leading with your shoulder without any arms puts yourself in the referee's hands. He can basically do whatever he wants with you. He could not even penalise you, or he could give you a red card. And of course, he went with the maximum sentence, which was the red card. Now, Hansen says that the All Blacks played dumb footy, and I think the biggest culprit of that was unfortunately Ardie Savea. He tackled Michael Hooper, Hooper knocked the ball on, and we had the feed to the scrum. And he looked down at Hooper, and he thought, ooh, could I push him in the back of the head, or could I walk away? He should have tackled him and walked away. Walk away! But he didn't. He shoved his hand into the back of his head, and we went from feeding the scrum to getting penalised, and about 2 minutes later got a red card, and the whole game changed. And the way that Australia were playing, they were going to take advantage of that one-man advantage. And they did. So good for them, I suppose. But instead of talking about what we did poorly, because there are a lot of things that didn't go well, I thought I'd point out some things that we did do well and some players that actually stood out. Now, the first one that I'd like to point out, or the first thing that I'd like to point out, is that we scored 4 tries. Yes, that's the first time in 5 test matches, excluding Italy, that we scored more than 2 tries. If we go back to last year, we scored a try against England, nothing against Ireland, and this year scored 2 against Argentina, 1 against South Africa, and now 4 against Australia. So that's a good thing. 4 tries. Back in the day, 4 tries would have been a bonus point. So at least the backs, know how we're reminded of how it feels to score tries, and I think their confidence will be built from that. I really do. Okay, in terms of standout players, I was impressed really with Anton Leonard-Brown. Now, with all the injuries and poor form around him in the midfield, he has been Mr. Reliable. Whether he's starting or coming off the bench, he's great. He breaks the line often, he tackles hard and tackles well, and he makes few mistakes. Also, Richie Mo'unga also improved from the South Africa game and made a lot of elusive runs. And he kept the defensive line on their toes. He did really well. Kicking-wise, in general play, maybe not so great, but the game situation meant that he had to run the ball more often. He just had to. And finally, the good news is that we lost the Rugby Championship. Yay! So why is that good news? Well, I'll tell you why it's good news. The team that wins the Tri-Nations or the Rugby Championship in a World Cup year never win the World Cup that year. Never. Go back to 99. Who won the Tri-Nations? We did. Who won the World Cup? Australia. 2003. We won the Tri-Nations. England won the World Cup. 2007. We won the Tri-Nations. And South Africa won the World Cup. 2011. Australia won the Tri-Nations and New Zealand won. 2015, Australia won the Rugby Championship. We won the World Cup. 2019, South Africa won the Rugby Championship. And we don't know who's going to. So, losing the Rugby Championship, good one, guys. Okay. Now for the bad news. Our depth at the locking position will be tested greatly without Retallick and maybe without Barrett. I'll tell you right now, if Retallick is not healthy for the World Cup, we will not win it. Simple as that. We really missed his physicality, we missed his athleticism and leadership, and we missed getting an intercept try that might have changed the course of the game, maybe. So we really need Brodie Retallick, and the fact that he's not healthy is not good for us. Also, Jake Goodhue now is injured, and so we'll probably have to put up another midfield combination. And as we know, inconsistency of selection leads to inconsistency of performance. And finally, I still don't think that we've answered the question whether Ardie Savea is the answer at blindside. We were pushed around by their forward pack, and as hard as Savea plays, he's always giving up about 10 to 20 kilos to the opposing blindside flanker, which can take a physical toll, and especially in the last 20 minutes. That's why he needs to be on the bench. Please put him on. Actually, that wasn't finally. Finally, there's the form of our two leaders. First of all, what's up with Ben Smith? Is he 100%? I mean, he had injuries earlier in the year with his knees, and I think he had surgery back in February, had another injury in May against the Chiefs. Is he actually fully healthy? Because he certainly doesn't look it. He didn't seem to have any real speed. He was ineffective on the tackle. I don't even know if he broke any tackles or if he even got around any guys. He doesn't look right. Maybe the fact that he's 33 years old, maybe he's old. Too old. He's slowing down. I don't know, but it's a real worry. Maybe they should have Ben Smith at fullback and have Beauden Barrett at first five and Richie Mo'unga coming off the bench. Maybe that would help. I reckon that would help. But I don't know what they're going to do. Then there's Kieran Reid, our captain. Our beloved captain, who generally is very consistent and very good. But we haven't seen much of that lately, to be honest. He's usually in the back line carving up a lot of yards, but he didn't seem to do much of that in this game. And he keeps dropping the ball in contact. It's becoming a bit of a consistent thing with him, so that's a worry. So this Saturday night has to be the biggest game the All Blacks have had at Eden Park since probably the World Cup final in 2011. So hopefully history will repeat itself and we will not only win, but win well. Here's hoping.